The Switch 2 Pro controller is probably the best controller I've ever used. I know a ton of people have been talking about this, and I'm certainly not the first or the only one, and I'm very late to this whole topic, but I just have to rant about how good it is. Especially since having played the Switch 2 Welcome Tour, it gives a lot of information into how they designed the thing. It's very cool for a lot of reasons. I see a lot of people online saying, what's the point in getting one if you've already got a normal Pro controller? You just have to use it to know, to realize. I kind of had a feeling that it was going to be really good just from what I'd heard from people who went to the Switch 2 experience and whatever. And they were entirely right. It is just so good. Again, I'm going to sound like everyone else praising this thing, but it's something else. It really is. Obviously, the joysticks are the biggest thing that a lot of people like to talk about because they're just so weirdly smooth. It's not something I ever really noticed that much, except for on the Joy-Cons, but it is true that every single controller, except for the Pro Controller 2, has joysticks that have like a bit of like friction as you move them around. Kind of like a grinding sensation as you move it around like the outer rim of it. And now that I've had the Pro Controller 2, which is just perfectly frictionless and smooth, it feels almost impossible to go back to regular controllers. And the Joy-Con 2s kind of had this as well. They're very good, but not quite as good. I have a feeling it's because they're low profile and they have different internals for how they work. It's like a weird it's just a weird thing. But you can still like feel a little something sometimes when you move the Joy-Con 2s. It's not quite the same. It's even things on, it's on like the DualSense controller as well, the Xbox controller. None of them feel as good as the Switch 2 Pro controller. And that's just the joysticks. The ergonomics as well. Believe it or not. Oh no. Oh, damn. Believe it or not, they're better than the normal Pro controller, even though it looks essentially the same. To start with, it's got a really nice finish on it. It's like a soft touch plastic, which makes it super satisfying to hold. Apparently they also took inspiration from the GameCube controller and made the grips slightly slimmer, it just makes it really, really, really nice to hold. But another thing that no one really talks about is the mold that they use for it is pretty much entirely seamless on the controller. So you don't feel any like grooves or anything where like the bits of plastic join together. They've designed it in a way such that every part that your hand is touching is the same piece of plastic. It's really, really cleverly done. And I'd imagine that was incredibly difficult to do. So overall, it feels very nice to hold and better to hold than the Pro Controller 1. The one also had like a kind of glossy plastic feel to it, which wasn't as nice. I still think the original Pro Controller was great. It was very good, but this is a massive improvement, like more so than most people would expect. The HD Rumble is better, of course. It charges like twice as fast and still has the same battery life, which was already really great on the Pro Controller 1. It's just, they've managed to improve essentially every single aspect of it somehow. I don't know how they've done it. I saw in like a developer interview that apparently Nintendo's been trying to develop the perfect controller for a very long time now, and I agree with them. I don't really know what they could do different to make an even better controller. A lot of people say analog triggers, but I don't think that's actually I don't think that'd be a good thing to do for a Nintendo console. like even in interviews, the people who design the controllers say they specifically choose not to use analog triggers, because aside from racing games where you might want, to pull harder to get more speed or whatever, there really isn't too much use for it. It's got some travel, so it feels less instant and less responsive compared to a, just normal clicky triggers. There's a bit of delay before it registers an input with analog triggers as well. It's just, yeah, I get it. It would be cool though if they had like the whole adaptive triggers thing that the DualSense has, but I'm really fine with just these buttons. I understand why they've gone with it. It's, yeah. And it's not like Nintendo hasn't experimented with analog triggers before. They've done the GameCube controller that had analog triggers. Obviously a very early type of analog triggers, but still, they've done it. And I guess some people could argue that it could have use cases if they chose to go with it, like outside of just racing games. If you think like Mario Sunshine, you could pull harder and more water would come out of FLUDD. That's like a cool use, but it's super niche and really not that big of a deal. So I guess I'd say I'm impartial if they went with analog in the future. It's not a deal breaker for me. But yeah, every time I see the controller before I pick it up, I just get excited that I can use it again. It's a really weird experience. Maybe that will fade over time, maybe not. I mean, it's been 2 months, and every time I see it, I'm like, oh, I can't wait to hold this. It's really weird. The face buttons as well are very different. If any of you have seen it in the Welcome Tour, you'll know that they've basically, like, the height of each face button of, A, B, X, Y is ever so slightly different to be, like, maximally ergonomic and performant. Like, they experimented with, like, different heights in increments of, it's something like 0.05 millimeters to get, like, a really, yeah, it's crazy. Slightly different heights. I never had an issue with the face buttons of the Pro Controller 1, but I mean, these feel good. GL and GR has been surprisingly useful as well, just given that it's so adaptive. I would like it if you could do some joystick inputs on it. For example, in Smash Bros, it can be quite difficult to do a tilt attack, so to be able to do a tilt input from picking a GL or GR button would be really cool. But overall, they've actually been surprisingly useful. They're super quick to assign. You just, press and hold, go onto the quick menu, press the GL button that you want, and then the button that you want to assign it to, and you're done. I've been using it a lot in Mario Kart, so there's a feature in the game where I'll demonstrate it in a sec once I've gotten through. Okay, there's a feature in the game where if you look to a certain direction and then throw like a shell, it will throw it in that direction now. And that's really hard to do if you're holding A and you want to use the right stick at the same time. So what I've done is I've assigned A to GR when I need it. I'll press A, to accelerate for most of the time. But if I want to like look to the left or right, I'll hold GR, and then I've got my thumb free to use the joystick. That's a genuinely useful and advantageous feature. Very cool. Very, very cool. And they don't like get in the way or anything. I never like accidentally press these buttons. Your fingers kind of, they rest in such a way that they're touching the GL and GR buttons, but they're not putting pressure on them. They're nicely positioned. The height of the joysticks as well are different. Not many people have noticed this, but I saw someone on YouTube mention it, and they're entirely right. the left one is slightly higher up than the right one. I don't know the reasoning behind that. I'm assuming it gives it more of like a turning radius or more accuracy. I don't know. The actual like face of the stick is also taller for some reason. I don't know. Maybe it's in the welcome tour and I've missed it. But yeah, overall, very cool controller. I would have liked it if they put a mic into it. I think that could be a cool feature because, you know, when you're playing in TV mode, the mic in the Switch 2 is so far away from you that it's never going to sound good. However, if you put one in the controller, you know, like the DualSense, I mean, the PS5 controller does this. It's just much closer to your mouth and can probably sound a lot better. Maybe they're worried about battery life or something, I'm not sure. But yeah, that could have been cool. Yeah. I haven't really got anything else to say about it. If you haven't got one and you've got a Switch 2 and you're contemplating it, I 100% recommend it. It's such a good investment. A better investment than more Joy-Con 2s, that's for sure. Cool. Subscribe.